no one else can because it's some bizarre phenomena of electromagnetics and radio. But
yeah, if you're joining us for our little pre-show, something in my headphone setup is picking up a local radio station, but you can barely hear it. Like, you can't really understand even what they're saying. It's so quiet. But
clearly you need to build a Faraday cage.
yeah, I was reading about how like sometimes your headphone cables can pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Tiny, just wrap your entire basement in a Faraday cage. Surely nothing could possibly go wrong from this, and there will be no unintended consequences.
Wouldn't it just be like aluminum foil or something? What do you need to make a Faraday cage?
That is an excellent question to Google during the Battlefront stream.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, well, that menu has changed. Okay.
I'm kind of disturbed by the thumbnail you've created for this.
Why is that?
Because I assume that's Star Wars Theory's big dumb face on the right side.
Yeah.
Like I've never actually seen the guy before.
His big dumb face. It's funny. We're talking about him tonight in the news because he said something stupid. So like, and he's getting a lot of backlash.
You mean the sky is blue?
Yeah, but when I posted that earlier to promo the show, someone commented and it was like, has Star Wars Theory ever known the touch of a woman he's not related to? It's like, probably not. Well, we should probably get going,
I guess.
Shall we start the show? Let's go. Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And this is the Jedi Enclave Presents You Now. This is Podcasting Podcast, your favorite weekly nerd show where we talk about Star Wars and the other things that we enjoy.
Did you just assume this is someone's favorite podcast?
Yeah, I assume it's everyone's favorite podcast. It is certainly the best podcast in the world. And in fact, is an award-winning podcast. I just totally made that up.
It is certainly the best podcast produced in your basement.
Yes. Yeah, unless any of the spiders that live down here are producing a podcast, in which case it probably is better than ours.
I mean, they honestly probably are.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has a podcast nowadays.
But, we talk about Star Wars news. This week, for example, Star Wars Theory has misunderstood women in general.
Unsurprising.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
And there's news about the new Rey film that's coming out 10 years from whenever the fuck that's coming out. And we have the return of our world-famous segment, Star Wars Storytime.
Allegedly world famous.
Yeah. Again, nothing I say is true. Everything is a lie. Except for the following, which is there will be time codes in the description of this video to tell you where to skip around. If you don't want to hear about Star Wars Theory, skip to Star Wars Storytime. You go and do that. We won't be offended. That's fine. Thank you to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. He's one of the reasons, actually, the Star Wars Theory thing kind of got on my radar this week. And a couple of our followers as well. Which, by the way, if you're watching right now, when this show aired live, we'll be taking a look at the comments in between segments. And we'll try to answer your comments and thoughts when it,
when it makes sense.
When it makes sense to do
when
that.
it pleases us to do
like,
so.
I'm not going to stop in the middle of a thing and do it. But while you're here, make sure you like the stream.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yep. And join us on Discord. The link to our Discord is in the description of this video. And then right after this at 7, like I do a lot of nights during the week, we'll be playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 with our friends from Gremlin Squad.
We've got to do more Lego Star Wars.
I know. It was a lot of fun, and I plan to do it again. I have this weird gaggle of 14-year-old boys who are obsessed with me.
Uh-huh.
And I get it. When I was 14, I fell in love with literally any man that showed me attention.
That's what you do when you're 14. Yeah. You fall in love with whatever whatever gets your pee-pee hard.
And like they're very like homo repressed, and I feel really bad for them. But like the only way that they can show their affection to me is to try to stream snipe and try to like make my life miserable. The thing is that it rarely ever works.
Yeah, isn't that something you're supposed to do when you're like 9 or
I
something?
don't know. I'm sure they'll jump into it. The thing that I'm really glad about is that all the time they spend staring at the stream, waiting for me to make a mistake and look at the scoreboard, they're helping the channel out a whole bunch.
Yeah, it's true.
So like, I owe them thanks, and at least as far as that goes. Tomorrow at 7, Gungans and Dragons, our weekly Star Wars RPG, will be happening.
Shit has gotten extremely Sithy.
Yeah, it has. It's a lot of fun actually, and I think last week
we went all CSI on this Sith eugenics lab.
Yeah, I almost died in an acid room with Monty, who presses every button there is ever.
Presses every button, eats everything. Yeah.
So
literally, those are his 2 character traits.
Yes.
He eats everything and he presses buttons.
Yeah. So let's get moving on to the Star Wars news.
Okay.
So this one part is completely unrelated to Star Wars, but Jodie Foster has been in a Netflix show called HBO show called True Detective.
Okay.
Which is an anthology series every season. Like the very first season, the leads were Matthew McConaughey and who's the guy that was in Solo: A Star Wars Story?
Aiden.
No. Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson.
They were both great, by the way, and it's a really neat show.
It's who I was thinking.
Every season has a mystery that they're trying to solve, and there are 2 detectives, and she's in the newest season. We just watched the first episode last week, but Jodie Foster is the lead of this season, and as a result, she's been doing the late night circuit and to do everything. And it turns out that she confirmed back in 1970, well, it would have been 1976, that she was offered the role of Princess Leia in Star Wars before Carrie Fisher was.
Huh.
Yeah. And we've heard tons about alternate castings. Like Burt Reynolds was almost Han Solo, and
as was Lando.
Billy D. Williams. Oh, I didn't know.
He was a very early choice, but apparently it washed out, and Lucas never got him for it.
Oh. Huh. Yeah, I didn't know that. But anyway, there are lots of... None of the cast were his first choices for those roles, but because he was kind of people didn't really know him super well, and the movie didn't pay very well, he didn't really get anyone. But Jodie Foster apparently was his pick for Princess Leia, but turned it down because she was making a Disney movie at the time. And some people have done the math about what was coming out right around then, and everyone thinks that it's Freaky Friday. And which I don't think I've ever seen, but
they remade it not too long ago.
Imagine
what a weird alternate timeline that would be, where Jodie Foster was Princess Leia.
So the thing is, she's brilliant. Jodie Foster's amazing. And growing up, Silence of the Lambs was one of my favorite films ever. You want to know a really crazy thing about Jodie Foster?
What was that?
Do you remember? We neither of us were born yet, but you might be aware that Ronald Reagan was shot.
Yes.
The guy that shot him, John Hinckley, was mentally unstable.
Yes.
And the reason he shot Ronald Reagan was because he was obsessed with Jodie Foster.
Okay.
And was sending her mail and wanted to impress her and get her attention. So he went out and shot the president of the United States.
That is one way to get attention, yes.
That's why Reagan got shot.
Because some dude was horny for Jodie Foster.
And I don't even know if he's horny, he was just obsessed with her.
I mean, on some level, he was horny. Maybe it wasn't physical, but
yeah, and Jodie Foster looks really good, so sure. But it's one of those little factoids where I was like, oh yeah. I imagine her fame would have. I mean, she was pretty famous then anyway with Silence of the Lambs and everything. But imagine it's one of those things you look back on and you're like, I could have been in a film that changed human history, and I skipped over it to do Freaky Friday for Disney, which no one remembers the original film for. Here we are. But anyway, she she kind of talked about how Star Wars would have been different, and she was also really classy and made sure to tell everyone that like Carrie Fisher was the right choice for this, and she had this brilliant performance, and so it wasn't like, oh, I could have done that and it probably would have been better. Like it wasn't. She gave all due respect to Carrie Fisher and everything. She's just like, yeah, it turns out I was offered Leia.
Fun fact.
Yeah, just one of those life things. You know, looking back, it probably would have made my life a lot different. So there you go.
Okay, let's talk about actual Star Wars for a second, or I guess at this point, hypothetical Star Wars.
Yeah, sure.
So Sean Levy, I think Levy.
You're talking about the director.
Yes,
Levy. How does
it's spelled Levy? Levy. Okay, so Sean Levy is making a Star Wars movie eventually,
which I kind of forgot about.
And there are rumors with a somewhat legitimate source at the root of them that this movie is going to involve Daisy Ridley in some level,
which is a big surprise because of the story we have after this as well.
Because we know that Daisy Ridley is returning to do a movie as Rey, but that has a different director,
right?
Chinyon,
who was in the news last week because someone took an 8-year-old quote, and turned it into something it wasn't. That's really interesting because it automatically locks in the timeline for the film.
Yes, it means that it must happen at a certain point after the sequel trilogy.
Right. And I wonder, I haven't done the math on this. Does his movie happen before the other one? Like, is it set to come out?
Hang on, I'm scrolling through this article that we're sourcing. So we know that Star Wars has release dates reserved for May 2026, December 2026, and December 2027.
Okay.
We know that Mando and Grogu is the May 2026.
Yes.
So that leaves the two Christmas dates, 2026, 2027. We also know that Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie is happening somewhere in all of this.
Well, Dave Filoni's is oh wait, yeah, you're right.
Yes, and the same source is anticipating that movie is happening Christmas 2028.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, they really are. It would be interesting to know more about these movies because we know so little about most of them. I'm a little surprised that they're going with the Rey thing so early. I thought maybe they would let a couple more years.
Maybe.
Because there are very loud people on the internet who they just can't handle Daisy Ridley or,
which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But I also want to mention that Taika Waititi has a Star Wars movie.
Oh, yeah.
Supposedly.
There are so many.
At some point.
Hopefully this isn't a thing where, like, Star Wars, yet again, has
announces a ton of shit and cancels half of it.
Yeah, and it'd be really too bad because a lot of these movies sound pretty interesting, and also it should be mentioned that in the news recently, Daisy Ridley commented on the film that she's going to be in and how she expects it will like change the general feel of Star Wars movie. How it's like they're doing it to be different than what we expect your typical Star Wars movie to be, which I think is really interesting too, because Star Wars could benefit from some diversity in the way that it's in the way that the stories are told, right? Not like diversity in this like racial or gender diversity,
which could benefit from that as well.
Yes, but what I mean like how Rogue One was a Star Wars movie, but it was told in a way different way.
Yeah,
and as a result, was really good. Like it's a World War II movie, pretty much. Like it's a war movie, right?
Combination of that and like Ocean's 11.
Yeah, and it was more Ocean's 11. The first version of it was more Ocean's 11. Yeah. And then they rewrote the whole fucking thing.
Or like Mandalorian, which is a Western.
Right.
Just straight up a Western that happens to take place in the Star Wars universe.
And doing a lot of that like genre diversity could make Star Wars really fresh.
Yeah.
Like it would be really cool to have a James Bond-ish, and this isn't going to happen with Rey. That's not what I'm saying, but like having like a James Bond-ish, like, Maverick spy kind of movie. Or
I thought you were gonna say Maverick, the card player from that one Mel Gibson movie, and I'm like, I'm here for that too. Like maybe that's the plot of Lando.
A game. Yeah, that would be really. Or slightly related, Casino Royale. which is also a Bond movie, but was a poker movie, really too. So like that actually would be really neat. Yeah. But like they could diversify the feel of Star Wars, make it look like Star Wars, but like write the story a little bit differently, where it's like a different genre, and it would be really cool. I think.
What I think is happening with all these movies and all these release dates, and I have no evidence for any of this, so like
just conjecture.
Yes, just conjecture. I think they're putting a whole bunch of shit together and then just sort of shuffling it to say, okay, we think this could go here unless this other thing gets done, and maybe that goes there and that pushes this back, and they're kind of messing with the release schedule based on what they have, what they think, how they think it's going to do, what could still use a little more tweaking. Stuff like that.
And another entire side of that too is how the writer and actor strike has like messed with the pre-development.
Yeah, that has almost certainly pushed all this back a year at least.
Yeah. Let's read some comments real quick. Jimmy says wasabi. I don't enjoy it. It makes me.
Well, real wasabi or the wasabi you get in the U.S., which is usually just horseradish.
I've had both. I mean the wasabi that makes you go ooh. Like the real wasabi, where like you smell it, but you don't smell it with your nose. You smell it with this part of your head. Yeah, like you know. I don't know. It's a very strange feeling. I don't know how to say it, but like real wasabi. I mean, I lived in Japan. Like I've had real wasabi before, and it really fucks with you. I did not enjoy it so much. Chris says, "May the Force be with you, Daniel, and Chris. I hope you are having a good night. We're having a great night so far." Casey says, "Back from the dentist. Happy to be here. I was at the dentist earlier today."
How did that go?
It went fine. They always find a fucking excuse to numb me, and I have a Novocaine resistance. Yeah. So they have to give me a ton of Novocaine, and they numb me up so fucking hard that my bottom eyelids go numb. And if you're thinking, do you feel your eyelids? You do, and you don't know until you can't feel them anymore. And then it's kind of like when you get really drunk.
Yeah, I was gonna say you told me this in college. Like you know you're drunk when you can't feel your teeth anymore.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I could feel my teeth before. That's kind of I don't feel them anymore. It's weird. Yeah, that's when I know when to stop drinking. Is when I can't feel my teeth anymore. Jimmy says anything with Timothy Oliphant is a Western. That's actually pretty true. April says, I'm still in my other RPG, but I want to say hi. Thank you, April. April will be one of the folks that are with us tomorrow for Gungans and Dragons at 7. Wasabi, like, what's up? I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. Race Fan says, good evening, Daniel and Chris. Hello. What's your favorite Star Wars TV show and why? And/or because it's amazing. Followed really closely by Ahsoka.
Yeah, I think my top 3 is Andor.
Andor's first, maybe second is tied between Ahsoka and Mandalorian Season 2.
Yeah, I guess 2, 3 is Mando, Ahsoka, in whatever order you like.
Yeah, and then probably Obi-Wan, even though it has some flaws in it.
Oh God, Visions.
I'm not sure I count that as like, oh yeah, that's such a different thing.
I think that has to be that's my number 4. You can judge it however you like.
Yeah,
that's my number 4.
It's just it's so different from everything. Yeah, I love Star Wars Visions. It's fucking great, but I have a hard time getting connective tissue between that and like the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments what your favorite Star Wars TV shows are and why. The why for Andor is because it's not only do they have a star-studded cast, but it's written brilliantly. Some of my favorite parts from that show are just 2 people in a room talking, and what they're saying is so powerful that you're just glued to them.
Or just one character monologuing.
Yeah, like fucking Stellan Skarsgård, who is like
brilliant fucking actor.
It's crazy that Diego Luna is a good actor, but he's not my favorite part of that show. Yeah. Fucking Stellan Skarsgård and Andy Serkis.
Yeah, Andy Serkis.
Yeah, they give these great performances, and then you have cool shit even in that show. Like someone brought up during the Battlefront stream last night, when Luthen is escaping the Imperial Interdictor cruiser, and he's got like
his fucking ship just has lightsabers.
Yeah, it's just like there's some really cool shit in that too. Ahsoka is way up there on my list because of Thrawn. And they had the courage at the end to let the bad guy win, which
also just the Ahsoka's entire samurai aesthetic.
Yeah, it makes me horny. No, I'm totally with you. Mandalorian Season 2 because of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
but also the Ahsoka episode is really good. There's I feel like there's one
when fucking Boba and Roboabs show up.
Yeah, like there's a tie. They do the whole Tython thing. Like season
there's
2,
a lot of good shit.
And
man.
Mandalorian season 1 was good because it was like the first live action Star Wars show that we'd ever gotten, and they do that genre diversity thing where it's like that fucking, where's that samurai story, the wolf and the cub,
I think.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
but like it worked. Yeah. They like, it looks like Star Wars, but the genre feels way different, and he cuts a man in half in the first episode with a door.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
Sold. You do that more in Star Wars. It's great.
Congratulations, whoever said that comment. You've derailed us for like 5 minutes.
If we need to skip, hold on. Let me read some more. Let me read some more, and then I'll figure out what we're doing.
All right.
Random movie pitch: Nar Shaddaa.
Okay.
Nar Shaddaa, orphan, does shady shit to win, steal or buy a ship, and escape the planet for the first time ever. Last shot of film is star lines from jump into hyperspace.
I think there's a seed of an idea there.
Yeah, that's neat. April says, I think that's the new Outlaw game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's coming out this year. Yeah. I love.
I think last I heard that's like the end of this year.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be later. Jimmy says, I love Andor. Even the droid is off the chart. Oh, all the cute droids in Star Wars start with a B now. I can't remember because there's BD1 from.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is it Luth? Does Luthen have a droid?
No. It's Andor's.
Oh,
and Marva's
yeah.
B2 maybe, or.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then Casey says, more scoundrels, please. The type that shoot first. The thing is that Han Solo didn't shoot first because Greedo didn't get a shot off. He shot first and he shot last.
He made the only shot.
Yeah, he was the one that shot. All right, so
back to the news.
Sorry. Okay, I'll read some more of these after the next one. Daisy Ridley, as we were just talking about, in a couple
billion years ago.
Yeah, has a couple Star Wars movies coming up. Turns out that
well, we know she has one. Allegedly, there's more.
Right. Reportedly making $2.5 million.
I thought it was 12.5.
Or 12. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, $12.5 million. $2.5 million would have been hilariously low, but more than she would have made on the first one that she was in, Force Awakens. So, Force Awakens she made between $200,000 and $300,000. Which is a lot
of money, but not very much for a Hollywood actor.
Not much for a Hollywood actor. Also, when you consider how much that movie grossed, over $1 billion. Holy crap! Was she underpaid? New salary is comparable to the legacy characters that were in the sequel trilogy. So she's making about as much as Carrie and Harrison and Mark made.
I read this article that's also comparable to the money Margot Robbie got for the Barbie movie,
right?
Where Margot Robbie was an executive producer,
right? Yeah, that's cool, and I think
which also squares with some rumors that Daisy Ridley might be a producer on her movie. I don't know if I stole your thunder.
Daisy, no, you didn't, but that's a good guess though. It'd be a good way for her to start getting her name on. That's a common thing with actors. They become interested in directing, or they take some of the money that they make from projects and they start investing it in other films and stuff.
Which is why Ben Affleck is now a producer on everything he appears in.
Yeah. So let's fold into this as well. There are some rumors about this whole thing that we want to kind of squash a little bit because there are rumors about the movie being delayed. The Raid movie being delayed, and first of all, in the grossest parts of the internet, there are really gross people who just want this to be true because it would make them happy.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, is the movie isn't even scheduled, so it can't be delayed.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
It's currently in an amorphous blob of perhaps time.
Yeah.
Where it'll happen eventually.
Right.
We think.
Yeah.
But there's no defined end to it.
Right.
So it just kind of stretches until it doesn't need to stretch anymore.
And this will kind of go into our one of our next things. Be aware of the rage baiters on YouTube who have the ridiculous thumbnails with the women with the red laser eyes and Kathleen Kennedy and Brie Larson and all this other shit. where they don't believe the shit that they're producing. They're doing it because that kind of content gets more traffic on YouTube and it makes them money, right? Mm-hmm. They don't believe any of this shit. It just makes them money. So that's why Mike Zero puts out 6 fucking videos a day about how Brie Larson and Kathleen Kennedy are in a lesbian orgy with Hillary Clinton and how it's like ruining Star Wars and all this other shit. And how, like, it just like it's all designed to enrage like this weird part of the internet, get them to click on their videos and make them money. So when you see that shit, do your own research. You use your Thor-given logic. Mm-hmm. Investigate the sources. If you read a story and it first of all, it doesn't give you a source, or it's like the Freedom Flag Eagle Facebook page or something, it's probably not real, right? So don't be a sucker is all I'm saying. Fire Spark. Can't wait to see Rey again. I enjoy the sequels and her character. Me too. Yeah. Boomhauer. How can you ignore the Christmas special? Oh. Well, which one? Because there's more than one now.
It's true.
There's like the Christmas special with the VR porn.
Lego Christmas.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Zachary Eichelberger. Hey, I had a buddy in high school with that last name. Anyway, hey Dan and Chris, it's Daniel. I recently watched The People vs. George Lucas. I've seen that. That's a kind of an older movie. I've seen it, but it's been a while. It really shows how people, not all, but a good amount, who hate Disney, Star Wars, and want Lucas back. That's not what The People versus George Lucas is about. The People versus George Lucas is about fans hating George Lucas and for like ruining their childhoods or whatever.
Which makes it really
At
funny.
least I think that's one thing about
a shit ton of people who are convinced that any day now George Lucas is going to come back and save Star Wars.
Yeah. Which he's got 4 billion reasons not to do that. Yeah, The People versus George Lucas was from 2010, which was before Disney.
Disney acquisition.
Yeah. So yeah, that is about. That's about people hating George Lucas because of the prequel films. This whole thing is just this like self-repeating cycle where like you have a group of people who are really pissed off because it wasn't what they expected.
They hate the people who are in charge, but are nostalgic for the people who are out.
The kids who grew up on that end up growing up and saying, "Though that was my Star Wars. Yeah, I fucking love those." Good. And those people now are the ones that watch the prequel trilogy.
They're like, "Hey, Hayden Christensen."
Yeah. In 10 or 15 years, probably not even that long, the kids that grew up watching the sequel trilogy, that will have been their Star Wars. And that's the ones that they'll like a lot. It's just like I just said, don't be a sucker. Like, look at, you can go back and find hilariously negative reviews of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
I want to say a couple weeks ago, I think we shared an image on the Facebook page of this letter of like this Star Wars fanzine saying, we're not going to publish anymore because The Empire Strikes Back sucks. Yeah. It's
just like, don't be a sucker. Make it like read into everything, do some research on the topic, make sure you're well informed about it. I'm not saying you're stupid.
Also, understand that time is a circle. Everything has happened, everything will happen again, and everything has already happened.
Wow, we are getting fucking meta. If you go back to old message boards, people trash Lucas all the time. Yeah, it's because the work that he did on the prequels in different facets weren't as good, and it's because he wasn't surrounded, like he wrote them himself, and he's not a great writer. He's a fucking great visionary, don't get me wrong, but like he's the reason
he can't fucking write dialogue.
Yeah, he's the reason we've got don't underestimate my power, or
I have the high ground.
Yeah, or it's because I'm so in love. Oh, you're saying love has blinded you. It's like At least
coarse and rough and gets everywhere.
Yeah, at least in the original trilogy, they had Harrison Ford, who's like, I'm not saying that. Like, I'm going to make up my own lines, and it's going to sound better, and you can't afford to fire me.
And also in the original trilogy, like, he had people who were willing to tell him, no, that's stupid. What if we do it another way?
Yeah, and he also had Lawrence Kasdan write, like Empire Strikes Back, and Lawrence Kasdan is a phenomenal writer.
And like, by the time he got to the prequels, there was no one around George Lucas willing to tell him no. So they just kind of did their best with his frankly pretty bad scripts
Yeah.
and, his ideas. And like, to give those people credit, like ILM invented a shit ton of technology that we're still using in movie and TVs today.
Yeah.
Just because there wasn't a way to make what George Lucas wanted to have happen.
Yeah. Race Fan says, Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie. Mine too. Sorry about that, Daniel, and you guys nailed exactly what I meant to say. Sorry for the mess up. No worries. That's okay.
Don't worry about it.
And good for you for admitting a mistake on the internet.
Yes.
Like, I have a lot more respect for someone who is willing to say that they're wrong than, the alternative. I'm going to read this one because it's going to get into our last news story for tonight.
Okay.
It was all the shit about, this is from Boomhauer. It was all the shit with Star Wars Theory recently led me to y'all channel. Thankful to have found it. So freaking tired of all the mean-spirited content out there. Speaking of Star Wars Theory.
Oh, God.
And so
here we go.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what I'm going to say about this. When this video goes out, people are going to say, oh, you guys are just trying to, you're just trying to use him to get views and shit. And
if you're going to do that, first off, thanks for watching. That helps us with the algorithm.
Yeah.
Second, thanks for all your angry comments, because those also help us with the algorithm.
Yeah. And also, a vast majority of our content is Battlefront 2. And we don't really talk about Star Wars Theory that much. It's just when he says something really stupid, like he did this last week.
Good segue.
So, and he's under fire from people on TikTok, which is a thing, I guess. And we have a TikTok, by the way.
It's one of those social medias.
Yeah. So we're old and cantankerous. Those damn kids. He said there was some sexist bullshit on his channel recently. And he was talking to a psychologist, and this ended up being a video on his channel. And they were commiserating about the stain of women on the fabric of society, or whatever the fuck. And she said, this is a female psychologist, by the way. They don't even care about it, referencing females. They don't
referencing women who, in her view, I guess, claim to be Star Wars fans.
Right. They don't even care about it. It's a man's little thing. Let them have it. But they want to be like, oh, there's such a deprivation. We've got to be in it so they can be a mini hero. This is not only a shit take, but it's unintelligent. It's uninformed. And for someone who apparently is a board certified psychologist, you can do better than that. This is the thing. Immediately, all of the female Star Wars fans in the world were like, excuse you, fuck off. Because, of course there are... One of our friends that we do our Gungans and Dragons thing is a massive Star Wars. Like, so many female Star Wars fans. There's this really great community of female Star Wars cosplayers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, anytime there are photos from a convention, like, it's not uncommon to see a little tiny Rey cosplayer walk up to a big full-grown man in a Kylo Ren suit, start smacking him with their lightsaber.
Right. So of course Star Wars Theory immediately started playing the victim, and it was like, oh, you guys are taking...
Oh, the fucking woke mob is after me now.
I think he called him the ultra left or whatever. And he's like, in the comments where we're taken out of context. And it's like, first of all, they just quoted her.
Yeah.
Like, they just played the video of the quote, and even if, like, there's no context that makes what she says better. Like, it's not like, oh, she said that, but if you went on to say, she immediately then said, someone said that to me, and then it's stupid. Maybe that would make it out of context, but like, there isn't a context where what she said is, first of all, true, and second of all, okay. And Star Wars Theory knows this. You're talking about the internet's biggest fucking Andrew Tate wannabe, probably refers to women as females and all this other bullshit. And it's the same thing we were talking about earlier about there's like that gross, grimy, dark corner of the internet that makes him money. And that's what he appeals to. And now, instead of making Star Wars content like he used to, he just talks about the fucking woke mob and how, Brie Larson and Kathleen Kennedy scissor too much, and that's why Star Wars is ruined and all this other bullshit.
I expect him to come out with a video in a couple months about how he endorses Donald Trump for president.
Yeah, or something. Yeah. The other, I did see that he was, because he makes fan films too, and they're like, as fan films go, they're entirely average. They're fine. And the reason that so many people are like, oh, shut the fuck up about these, is because like he markets them as, oh, this is what Star Wars should be, because he really sees himself as like the arbiter of like what is and isn't Star Wars, which
is factually incorrect,
and,
like provably false.
Yeah, and also is intuitively wrong because he's kind of an idiot. But he makes so much money off this rage bait bullshit that he was able to like hire Nick Gillard to do the fight choreography for his next Vader thing, which you would think that someone like that would be like, no, I'm not working for you. Like I don't think so. But,
I mean, a paycheck's a paycheck, I guess.
So anyway, females, as he would refer to them, females, they went to social media to
say basically you're a fucking
bullshit.
Dumbass.
Bullshit. I love Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Was like, this is fucking stupid. It's just like we all know it's stupid. There isn't a problem with women being in Star Wars. There isn't a problem with women being the main character in Star Wars.
There isn't a problem with women directing Star Wars.
It's fine. It's not that big of a deal.
Like the only people who feel threatened by that are those who think that it's going to make their penis even smaller.
Little bitty penis.
And like, first off, if you feel that way, your penis is already so small, scientists can't even find it with a microscope.
Damn, dude.
And second, like,
also,
this isn't a zero-sum game here. Like, just because women are getting jobs does not mean those jobs are necessarily being taken away from men. Also,
if you have a physically small penis, that's fine. We're talking about metaphorically small penises. Let me read some. We're going to wrap that up with the news there. So why aren't you talking about Star Wars theory all the time? Because I don't want to. Don't care. Phil still says, "Yo, I'm back. I'm glad." Firespark says, "Been trying to work on a Star Wars fan fiction, but stopped and give time to other fan fictions. I know it can be weird since I know more about the world than Star Wars, so I'm gonna watch lore videos." So first of all, it's one of the things I love about Star Wars so much is that people like you and me. I don't know why I feel weird admitting this. Like, people care enough about the world to create their own version of it, and it's one of the things that I'll always respect about Star Wars theories, fan films. Is it like, you apparently love the medium enough that like you want to like make a version of it yourself.
Yeah, he put his own time and money and vision, I guess, into making something.
Right. But what I'm saying though, stop procrastinating. Do the fucking fanfic and then send it me because I'll read it. Phil says, "Hey lads, what's up?"
Hello there.
Boom Howard says, "Just another incel. I think he means Star Wars theory. Probably not us. Star Wars theory claims he wants to be a unifying force for the fandom. He would have to start doing better as a human being for that to be true." And then Zachary says, "I really have enjoyed the Disney Star Wars, but not everything."
Sure, that's fair.
That's about where we are on it too. We've said this several times.
Rise of Skywalker is kind of not great.
It's my least favorite Star Wars film.
Ooh.
But I fucking love The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And I get that not everyone loves The Last Jedi. There's like that one thing in the Star Wars in the sequel trilogy that someone's not crazy about.
Yeah, it's like everyone feels like moderately pretty good at least about Force Awakens, and then Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, I feel like you love one and hate the other, or hate one and love the other.
And you know what? Is that untrue for any of the trilogies? Because I gotta tell you, other than the Yoda fight at the end, I don't like Star Wars Episode 2.
I don't really like 2 or 1, honestly.
Yeah, I don't love 1 either. Yeah, it's hard for me to... So I saw Episode 1 when I was like,
Yeah. And it was the coolest fucking shit.
It was. Like, I walked out of that movie fucking swinging in like imaginary lightsabers. Right, that shit was so cool to me. And I don't love the original Star Wars that much. Like I recognize it for the cultural impact and the idea. It's just
kind of dull. The pacing is kind of weird.
Yeah, and it looks dated because it was made in the fucking 70s, right? And it's like they got these big blinky lights that don't make sense, and things.
Well, it turned into a cool aesthetic down the line. Right. It's just had a little bit of a rough start.
And I'll never complain about the performances, even though Mark Hamill's performance in the original Star Wars was a little weird. But Carrie Fisher,
I want to go to Tashi Station, pick up some power converters.
Despite Carrie Fisher not being able to decide whether or not she wanted to use a British accent or not, her performance in that movie is still fucking fire. And Harrison Ford cared so little about why he was there, that's what the character was. His essence was Han Solo, and it just it totally worked. Also, like they did some really insane visual effects things for Star Wars that at the time was just pure magic,
beyond cutting edge.
Yeah,
they were inventing shit as they went along.
Yeah. But I don't love to watch it.
Yeah,
like
it's not super great as a movie.
You get to the Vader versus Obi-Wan duel, and you're like, oh right, oh right.
Neither of them can move very well.
This is so weird. Yeah. So what I'm saying is everyone's got shit they like, everyone's got shit they don't like. We're all Star Wars fans. I would much rather talk about the shit I love than the shit I don't love.
That's just more fun.
Disney butchered Mandalorian season 3. I didn't love season 3 either.
I thought it was fine.
The Last Jedi is one of my favorite movies, just as good as Return of the Jedi. I think we've ranked movies before, but for me it's Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, then Last Jedi, and then I think Star Wars Episode 3.
Okay.
And like those are pretty close to one another as well. Phantom Menace is my least favorite Star Wars movie too.
Yeah, that's...
Yep. Okay, so I got...
We've done too much chat interaction. We need to get back into business.
I don't know how I'm going to get this all done in 20 minutes, but we're going
to do it.
But guys, fucking strap in, because it's time for Star Wars Story Time. If you're thinking, wow, that sounded like a saxophone, it was.
Yeah.
If you're thinking, oh, that's weird, Daniel plays the saxophone. That's true.
That's an interesting coincidence.
I played all the saxophone parts on that little jingle there. And it's straight from the Cantina Band thing, and I hope Disney never notices, because they'll probably sue me. They'll be like, that's copywritten.
Excuse you. And we own this.
Yeah. So anyway, if you're here, we've not done this segment in a while because we've had... There was Marvel.
There's way too much other shit happening.
There's a lot of shit we had to talk about. But every once in a while we do Star Wars Story Time, which is I usually pick not obscure, but like a part of Star Wars lore that's happening in a medium that isn't the films or shows, right? So like a novel or a comic book or something. And you don't have time for that shit because you're an adult and you have a job. So I just tell you about it. And the reason this exists is because I did this anyway before we started the show. Yeah. So now we just do it while people watch. That sounded really gross. I'm very sorry. Anyway.
Moving right along.
Yeah, so this week we're wrapping up the Yoda comics.
Oh, good.
The last two issues. I wish I'd just done one issue.
Is anything gonna happen that's as cool as Yoda like beating the shit out of people with a battle axe bigger than he is?
I don't think that you can ever top that.
Yeah,
that's just kind of that wasn't the first issue of this comic series, by the way. But we're doing a Yoda number 9. Well, hello there.
Hello there.
And Yoda number 10, the final lesson. So as a quick previously on, Yoda is in exile on Dagobah, and he's real depressed. But he's constantly pestered by this like mysterious voice in the Force.
It's Qui-Gon.
So as a result, Yoda has been kind of introspective and has been kind of looked into, like he's been looking into his past and
trying to see where it all went wrong.
Yeah, and seeing failure at every corner, right? Mm-hmm. And so the last couple of issues involved Yoda fighting General Grievous and discovering that
while on a mission to destroy this separatist weapon with Anakin.
Yeah. So, and it turns out that they were their big secret weapon was still a really big droid, like a really
of course,
big droid.
Like the separatists do everything with droids. Why would they not think just make a really fucking big droid and that'll be the best weapon ever?
It's got legs and everything. It's just a really tall droid. Like that was their big idea. I wonder why they lost the war. So Yoda and Anakin go on an adventure, and they destroy the foundry that made it, and then now they're trying to, like, they accidentally turn the droid on, and so now they're trying to figure this out, right? So the issue starts like this giant battle droid is on, it's mad, and it's just like destroying everything around them.
It's going all stompy, shooty.
Everything is exploding. Yoda and Anakin are like,
well, fuck.
Well, here we are, okay, and Yoda's like, okay. So this probably isn't going to be easy. And Anakin's like, you think? Like, I just shat my pants. Like, this thing is too big. And Yoda's like, well, I got a lesson for you there. Size. And Anakin's like, I get it. Size matters not. But I'm going to be honest with you. It seems to matter right now because this thing has a massive advantage on us. And so Yoda, is like, fuck off. And, he leaps into the air. He turns into Yoda Crack Squirrel, right? Mm-hmm. And while he's doing all this, he's talking to Anakin, just furthering the lesson.
Yeah.
He's like, look, size is a matter of perspective. Like, to a flea, a dog looks really fucking big. Like, size is all in your head. And Anakin's like, that's what Padme is constantly telling me. And Yoda's like, all right, I'm supposed to pretend like you guys aren't fucking. So anyway, the Force is really cool. Check this shit out. And he lands on this big droid's shoulder while Anakin is like trying to fight it off. And the droid is doing very well against lightsabers, right? Now, ordinarily, all the Star Wars nerds in the audience are going to be like, oh, it's probably made of cortosis. Sure. It's not. It's made out of really tough Durasteel, I guess.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. So Yoda just starts battering it on the head with a lightsaber. And nothing happens because it's made out of really tough Durasteel.
Anakin's like, what the fuck are you doing, you dumbass? Don't you see how its armor is like stopping our lightsabers?
So like Yoda stops and he's like, okay, this usually works. I don't know what to do now. So Anakin distracted. And Anakin's like, it's been focused on me the whole fucking time. Like, what do you mean distracted? What am I supposed to do? Like, I don't know how I haven't died yet. And Yoda's like crawling around on top of it and he finds a hatch on the back and he opens it and he jumps in. And Anakin's like, hey, don't get trapped inside of that thing. And Yoda's like, huh? And the hatch slams shut. And Yoda looks around and he's like, well,
fuck.
Okay, this isn't ideal. So the droid senses something is wrong and fires his rockets and flies into space. Mm-hmm. Just out of nowhere. He's like, okay, going to space? Fuck off. Yeah. And Anakin's like, that thing they can fly now?
They fly now.
Yeah. So Yoda realizes that he is surrounded by like important circuits and cables and shit. And he's like, it's a little bit more vulnerable on the inside. Yeah. So he starts freaking out with a lightsaber and cutting things. Doesn't know what the fuck he's cutting.
Sure. Just cut it all.
So he disables the mega droid. And like it starts to get real cold.
Because he's in the vacuum of space.
And like he can see his breath. And Yoda's like, the fuck, did he fly into space? And he's like, yeah, he flew into space. Well,
fuck.
At last, the sweet embrace of death.
Yeah.
Just take me. And he hears Anakin screaming for him on the comms. And so Anakin has gotten into a starfighter, and he's gone into orbit, and like he's next to the droid. And Anakin's like, hey, you disabled it. Fucking great job. Yeah. And Yoda's like, yeah, but this has started a whole new set of problems. Like, this thing isn't exactly space-worthy. And Anakin's like, you're also spinning wildly out of control. Like, the thing is literally spinning. So let's stop, and I'll line it up with the hatch, and we'll figure out how to get you out. And Anakin's like, actually, just use the Force and stop the rotation. And Yoda's like, yeah, okay, look, Skywalker, I'm nearly frozen half to death. I can barely breathe. You stop the goddamn thing yourself. And Anakin's like, it's too big. Like, there's no way I can do that.
Yoda's like, how many times do I have to tell you, motherfucker?
Yoda's like, I swear to God, Anakin, if my last words are wasted giving you the size matters not lecture again, I'm going to fucking lose it.
For not even the first time today.
Just reach out, stop the goddamn spinning. So Anakin's like, okay. And you cue the Force theme, and he's like, okay. And he like centers himself, and he stops the spinning. And Yoda's like, good job. And Anakin's like, okay, so it's coated in Durasteel, but the inside should be vulnerable enough for you to cut yourself out. And Yoda's like, okay, genius, but what's going to happen when I hit the Durasteel, like from behind? And he's like, well, you should be able to cut through it from behind. And Yoda's like, nothing about that makes sense, and it isn't based in any kind of logic, but I'm going to die in here anyway, so fuck it.
Let's do it.
So he tries it, and it looks like it's actually going to work. And Yoda's like, wait, your ship has enough room for both of us, right? And Anakin's like, yes, you're tiny. Your size matters not, because there's so little of it.
Yes.
And Yoda's like, you're a prick, but I see your point. So he cuts through the droid, and the vacuum of space pulls Yoda out, and Anakin's able to like get him in the ship. Mm-hmm. Later on, their assault ship, like the clone assault ship, Anakin's talking to his doctor. He's like, he'll be all right. And the doctor's like, he launched himself into the void of space. Like, he's lucky to be alive, but somehow, like, he only has minor injuries. And so Anakin goes to visit him in the infirmary, and Anakin's like, you look like shit. And Yoda's like, I'm 900 years old. This is what I look like. And so Anakin tells him, they recover the Megadroid, they're analyzing it and everything. And they're like, the factory they destroyed, like, that'll put the Separatists back years on this project. So, like, we got time to figure it out and everything. Mm-hmm. And Anakin's like, so when you said you weren't strong enough to stop the rotation, you were full of shit. And Yoda's like, I absolutely was. Like, look, maybe your midichlorian count is higher than mine, but I'm Yoda. And don't forget for a fucking second, even at 900 years old, that I could whoop your ass any day. And Anakin's like, you just wanted to teach me that I could do it. And he's like, yeah, I'm also a great fucking teacher.
Yes.
And the pain meds hit in. Okay, that's real nice. I'm going to take a nap now. So present day, Yoda's in the hut. And the voice talking to him is like, look, you really have to talk to me. And Yoda's like, I'm literally talking to you right now. And the voice is like, you're fucking around with your games and your stories. You're trying to avoid me. You must know what happened. You must have felt it. And Yoda sighs and he's like, yeah, I felt it. And then there's a shot of Obi-Wan's duel with Vader on the Death Star.
Oh.
And Yoda's like, you died. And Obi-Wan appears in front of him and he's like, yeah, I died. Oh. And so the entire time you think it's Qui-Gon pestering him to try to teach him or talk to him or whatever. And the whole time it was Obi-Wan who's just recently died. And Obi-Wan's like, now, why the fuck have you been pretending otherwise? And Yoda's like, I wasn't pretending. I was avoiding you. What we're facing now is too big to defeat. And like Yoda remembers his duel with Palpatine, and Yoda says, I'm the reason all this is happening. Like I couldn't stop Palpatine. And Obi-Wan's like, it's time for you to stop punishing yourself. And Yoda's like, I didn't come here for penance. I came here because the galaxy is better off without me. Which perfectly mirrors Luke's exile to Ahch-To. This feeling that you're the reason that everything's fucked up, and that if you remove yourself, things will get better, right? Yeah. So, this is where the first issue stops, and then the last issue I think I might be able to do in 10 minutes. We'll see.
Okay, hit it.
So Yoda has a fever dream with an alien teenager that he met in the first issue, right? Mm-hmm. And he's teaching Yoda how to play a little thumb harp, like one of those like little embiras. Yeah. And
it's a deep cut for all you musicologists out there.
Also, it's a deep cut if you see Yoda in Empire Strikes Back. He's wearing an embira on his neck.
Oh.
As a necklace, yeah. And Yoda's like, I'm too old, and he's like, you're never too old to learn. Like you taught me that, and so like in his fever dream, Yoda looks up and there's a giant Death Star all of a sudden, and then like
Justice Star.
Yeah. Another deep cut for our Star Wars story times. And then like zombie adolescent Anakin appears. And then like zombie Qui-Gon appears and is like, you fucked everything up. And like they do a little duel. And then the Death Star like super laser fires on him and he wakes up. And Yoda's like, and
Jesus,
then,
fuck.
Yeah. And then like Obi-Wan's just watching him sleep. And he's like, first of all, weird. And Obi-Wan's like, he had another bad dream, right? And Yoda's like, please go away. Just go away. And he's like, no, I don't think I will. At least not until you've listened to me. Like, I've got kind of a favor to ask. And he's like, of course you do. And he grabs his gimmer stick and he leaves his hut. And Obi-Wan's like, what? Where are you going? And he's like, to pick some herbs. And he's like, do you think this is the best time to get high? And he's like, for my soup, Obi-Wan. It's for my fucking soup.
But also, yes.
And then he just like, walks away.
Yeah.
So he walks a while. He's looking for his herbs, and Obi-Wan appears again. And he's like, do you remember way back when you used to make pastries? And he's like, yes, go away. And you remember, like, my friend Bant used to help you with the filling? He's like, yes, it's very nice, go away. Which, by the way, is a really cool deep cut to Jude Watson's Jedi Apprentice series. Bant was a character from when Yoda was, before Obi-Wan was Qui-Gon's Padawan. He had a friend called Bant. It's just a really cool deep cut to a book that a lot of people probably haven't read. So, like Yoda looks around, he's like, where the fuck I have no idea where I am. And Obi-Wan looks at him, and Obi-Wan's standing in front of the mouth of the dark side cave from Empire Strikes Back. And Obi-Wan's like, oh, I'd say you're exactly where you should be from a certain point of view.
Yoda's like, fuck off,
dude. He's like, oh, really? Is that what you're going to say to fucking Skywalker when he asks you about his dad? And he's like, yeah, I was just trying it on. What do you think? And he's like, I
was going to get to it.
I think it's weak. And Obi-Wan's like, whatever, get in the fucking cave. And Yoda's like, no. And he's like, don't you think he should? And he's like, no, I don't think I should. Don't think I should. And he's like, do you care to explain? And Yoda's like, because it's strong in the dark side of the Force, and I really doubt the herbs I'm looking for are going to be in there. And it's like, how many herbs does your soup even need? And Yoda's like, I'm not here for herbs for my soup. Like, I'm going to trip balls until you're not here anymore. It was all a ruse. And Obi-Wan's like, what, you too afraid to go in there? and they stare at each other for a second. Like Yoda, there's a frame of him staring at Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan staring at him. And then Yoda's like, this is fucking stupid. And he makes his way toward the cave, and he's like, I hope you're happy. I'm wasting my time. And Obi-Wan like calls after him. He's like, take your time. And like Yoda's like, fuck off. So Yoda goes into the cave, and like a bird creature makes a sound and just like scares the piss out of him, but then he stops and he laughs about it. He's like, I'm getting too old. Like, So there's a voice behind him that says like, I never thought that you were a fool, Master, at least not at first. And Yoda turns around, and it's the dark side. It's a dark side apparition of Count Dooku. And Dooku's like, you could have killed me in Geonosis. You had me dead to rights, and until I dropped the thing on Obi-Wan and Anakin. You could have sacrificed them and continued to whoop my ass and kill me. Like, you had me, but you didn't. And you could have ended the whole thing. You also could have listened to me when I literally told you and everyone that Sidious was Palpatine. I told all of you. I sat in front of Obi-Wan and was like, Sidious is running the government. And Obi-Wan just looked at me like a fucking deer in headlights. I literally told all of you what was happening. Like, you could have just listened to me then.
Yeah.
But
you would have stopped everything.
Yeah, but you're a fucking moron. And he's like, also, like, didn't you see what I'd become? Like, I left the Order, and then I kept coming back to the Jedi Temple. You didn't think that was weird? Like, you didn't see what I had become?
It's a little bit suspicious.
And Yoda's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, you didn't wonder why I kept coming back to the temple after I left? Like, you didn't think that was weird? And Yoda stumbles over the dead body of Yaddle. And Yoda's like, son of a bitch, you killed Yaddle? Not cool. And
she was my puff puff pass partner.
Yeah. And Dooku was like, oh, she was the first of several Jedi I killed. And so he turns into Dooku turns into like zombie Dooku, and his hands are missing. Mm-hmm. But he's still able to hold it's like he's holding the lightsaber with like his stumps. And he swings at Yoda, and Yoda blocks with his gimmer stick, and then like there's a Jedi that appears that heckles him. Her name's Keeve Trennis, who's from the High Republic series. Mm-hmm. We don't know what happens to her, but she's like, you could have helped me, but you left me, alone, and blah blah blah. And so Yoda is thrown into like this huge pile of skulls. Mm-hmm. Anakin Skywalker appears; he's half on fire and shit. And Anakin's like, oh look, it's everyone who ever trusted you and died. And so there's like zombie versions of Bail Organa and Padme and Mace Windu, who was like, motherfucker, we were friends and now I'm dead. And they're like there are hands reaching up through the skulls and trying to grab Yoda.
I'm sorry, Daniel. Could you repeat that part where Mace Windu said he was dead?
Yeah. Actually, I think in the comic what he literally says was, you were my teacher, which actually is a little bit more heartbreaking. He might not have said, I am confirmed dead, which is not a confirmation, by the way, that he's alive. So everyone calm the fuck down.
But I really just wanted to really emphasize for the people at home that Mace Windu is dead.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway.
I regret to inform you. So Yoda starts to like properly freak out. Hands are like grabbing at him and shit. And he's like, this is a bad trip. I don't like this. So, and he's like trying to tell them all, like, I couldn't have known what was going to happen. And then suddenly Palpatine appears. And this big fucking full page Palpatine with like lightning coming out of his hands and shit. It's like super epic. And Palpatine's like, Yoda, the greatest of all of my apprentices. Yoda the blind. Yoda the fucking unaware. And Yoda's like, that's hurtful. It's hurtful that you would say that to me. And the hands from the skull pile like grab him and they start to pull him in. And Yoda's like, fine, I'll just fucking die. Maybe I can get 1 second of peace from Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the teenager from the previous issue with the thumb harp appears and tells him about a lesson that Yoda taught him about failure. And he's like, you taught me that it doesn't matter how many mistakes you make because the greatest teacher failure is. Which is another line people might remember from The Last Jedi. One of the best lines in all of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And so Yoda bursts out of the skulls. He uses the Force or whatever. He sends Dooku and Palpatine and Anakin fucking flying. And so sometime later, Obi-Wan is like patiently waiting on a log. Mm-hmm. Yoda crawls out of the cave and he's like, for fuck's sake, you're still here. And Obi-Wan was like, hey, I told you I wasn't going anywhere until you were ready. And he's like, I'm ready for you to go away. And Obi-Wan's like, that's not how it works.
Also, I was here waiting because I figured eventually you would like offer to share some of that herb with me.
Yeah.
Come on, hook a brother.
Yeah. He's like, that's not how that works. By the way, what are you holding? And Yoda shows them the little thumb harp.
Oh.
And he's like, it was a gift from a long time ago, and I keep it as a reminder, for the future. And Yoda waits a minute, and he like something changes, and you can tell he just kind of like opens a door, and he's like, you really do need to go. The boy is in danger. And Obi-Wan's like, yeah, Hoth sucks. And there's a pause, and Obi-Wan asks, if I bring him here, will you be ready? And Yoda sits down on a rock, and he plays his little thumb harp, and he's like, I'll be ready to teach, and I'll be ready to learn. The end.
It's pretty good.
It was good. And then you find out that just a couple of days later, Yoda goes on a little hunting trip.
It nearly fucking dies.
And then that's when the X-Wing crashes on Dagobah. He's like, what the fuck? I thought you meant I'd have a little bit more time.
Still, getting my syllabuses ready.
Yeah. So that was perfectly 7 o'clock, by the way. We're going to restart here. I'm going to read a couple of these. We're going to restart for Battlefront 2. Please come by and say hi there. Mm-hmm. If we didn't get to your comment, be happy to talk more. We'll be able to talk a little bit more about Star Wars and stuff. Yoda, Anakin, learn your fucking lesson on how to use a Force Ghost. Great book with Yoda called Dark Rendezvous. That was part of the Clone Wars series. I've got it up here somewhere. It's around here somewhere. It's right there. Oh, second from the top. Yeah, Dark Rendezvous. Yeah, Sean's favorite. It is really cool. There's a really good part of that book where asking me about this during the Battlefront 2 stream because it's really neat. So yeah, if we didn't get to your comment, come back. Just a couple minutes. We'll be playing Battlefront 2. We'll talk more about Star Wars. It'll be fun. I'll see you.